There's another part of the worm that is turning over there also, because apparently now Tony is hating it, that he's getting the bad press, the bad publicity. People are saying bad things about him, and he's freaking out and flipping his shit over the Punk interview, to the point where now they have announced that CM Punk, ladies and gentlemen, will be returning to AEW television this Wednesday night. Does this smack horribly of the Razor and Diesel will return to the WWF scandal of 1996 or whatever it was?
CM Punk is still the biggest star in AEW. AEW still revolves around CM Punk. Tony Khan, more than anyone else, can't get past CM Punk. He wanted to be Punk's friend. And now he is very upset about this interview that was on Ariel Helwani's show. This will be 2 Dynamites in a row dealing with or addressing CM Punk, whether it's the Edge promo, whether it's Dax Harwood getting in the ring after the show to yell about how happy he is to work.
And now, to be fair, Edge wasn't really a promo as much as a visible meltdown. If you're going to call Dax's yelling, and there was an element of desperate screaming there and clawing at the edge of the abyss as you slide down. But anyway,
CM Punk is still the biggest star there, and they're getting more buzz than they have just overnight, because the announcement came out at like 1 a.m. or whatever, because Collision was on. In the middle of nowhere. No one even remembered it existed this week, and they announced, I have it right here.
Well, they wanted to try to start Collision after, they were starting after the college basketball game, but also they thought, well, at least WrestleMania would be over with, and the fucking main event was still going on at 1:45 or whatever, I think, when they started this thing.
Jim, a graphic appeared on the screen on Collision. The Young Bucks present backstage footage from AEW All In London, and we'll discuss it for the first time on Dynamite. And they have their new characters in the photo, standing there in their
seersucker suits.
If they're going to put, there's so many, this is so fascinating. And again, it reeks of desperation. And there really is no win here for AEW unless you believe, looking at wrestling history, that Tony Khan now, and the Bucks now, leaning into this, will produce some kind of thing like Vince McMahon leaning into Bret Hart punching him in the face.
Well,
I don't know if that's going to happen. Now, look, anything could happen, but CM Punk is super over right now. And all there is pictures of him seemingly loving life with his coworkers. And you still have a crew of people who can't get past him. He did an interview and he addressed it. Look at the reaction here. And let's get your initial thoughts on all this.
All the preparation H in the country could not soothe the inflamed asses at AEW because of, and he was sitting there, Punk, too many pronouns, pal, calm, reasoned. It wasn't an acting performance. It wasn't a plea for forgiveness. It wasn't an explanation to try to get him out of trouble. It was just a recounting of the way that he viewed things. And came off pretty fucking credible, right? They go out of their minds to do the rah-rah speeches and tweets that, as we mentioned, kind of in part validate what Punk was saying, because a lot of their reasoning is, I'm having the most fun I've ever had in my career, or I'm working with all of my friends who deserve this, or I get to spend so much time with my family. Those are the opposing viewpoints, apparently, of what Punk said. But
Tony was that upset that Punk just said flat out, it's not a real business. It's not predicated on any of the things that a real business would be. And Tony's been flipping out ever since.
Yes, and he fires people coincidentally, but as we've seen, you know what? There's kind of a reason. Maybe they were waiting in the office. They're like, God damn, can we get rid of 20 or 40 of these? Jesus Christ. Hey, maybe now's the time he might let us peel off a few. But anyway, now, besides the knee jerk, elbow jerk, or the reflex, flex, from last week with the promo, now they're, again, like you said, they're advertising, they're preaching to the choir, they're advertising to people who have already bought the product. because they're talking about, they can't say Punk's name, right? They haven't said that yet, have we? Have we?
No.
They haven't said that.
It just says they're going to present backstage footage, and then it leaked to various wrestling media members who spoke to AEW sources that, no, this is the real thing. This is not a bait and switch. They're going to really show the footage, and they better. Because if they renege on this, their fans are going to be unhappy. And if they show the real thing and they cut it up in any way, Punk's got a lawsuit.
Well, yeah, but what I was saying, and I will talk about that in a second, but what I was saying was if they can't even say the guy's name, so they're preaching to the people that know the specifics of the exact incident and know enough to know what they're talking about, because the story came out at the time that there was Wembley security camera footage, right? So this is their desperate plea for ratings by sending out a coded message to the people that are still watching that nobody else is going to understand. And then at first I thought, oh my God, these two, the California Raisins are being such douchebaggy heels that maybe they're going to shoot a parody thing and try to make fun of it, whatever. And then they've come out and said, oh no, it's going to be legitimate. So we'll see. If it's not legitimate, if it's, douchebags trying to get silly heat, then that's going to be worse. But right now, they're just going to show another wrestler that they have that's under contract to him, Jack Perry, that he might get over being mad at and bring back at some point, getting fucking choked. So, by a big star from another program. So how it's so desperate because Punk can still be on our show. We found a loophole. Except we can't really say his name. And the only people that are going to know are the people that already know. And he's choking out one of our guys.
They're spending TV time having a hissy fit over Punk appearing on a podcast. Not another TV. Punk hasn't said a word about any of them on WWE TV.
No.
And he probably never will. He talked about it on a podcast, and now they're dedicating another thing. They can't get past it. They all try to make it like it's Punk and everyone else. They can't get past things. They can't get past the reality of stuff. They're going to release this footage. Again, if it's cut up at all, that's going to be a problem. I want to see. And they say they're not going to show the footage of whatever scared Tony Khan to the point where he was afraid for his life. That's what I want to see.
Oh, well, maybe here's what they'll do. They'll show the actual footage of Punk choking out Jungle Boy. And then they'll say, and here's what made Tony Khan fear for his life. And then Rick Astley pops up. That thing. And it'll get the whole audience all at the same time. Maybe not?
Yeah, not one of your better ideas.
Not really?
No, not at all.
All right, well, no, but here's the thing is that what are you going to show? How could you clip this? Because it wasn't like a fight where there was an advantage given over from one side to the other. He grabbed him in a front face lock and choked him until Joe asked him to let him go.
Well, we don't know that. The footage will show exactly what it is. That's Punk's story of what happened. The footage will show.
It's going to be awful hard to fucking
let's see
alter that, or are they playing with the artificial intelligence over there at AEW? They ought to be into artificial intelligence. They don't have any of the natural shit.
If they alter it in any way, that'll probably be a lawsuit. So I don't think they'll do that. I think it'll probably be the Bucks in character, in the role of EVP on camera, reviewing the footage, and this may lead to the reinstatement of Jack Perry. But again, it's all dealing with the biggest star in your company who's not there and more than likely never will be again, and you all had a chance to do something, and you blew it.
When he was close enough to reach him, they didn't want to do anything, but now they want to show all the footage.
It's a minor league operation, and that's the thing. CM Punk said out loud, what the wrestlers you talk to there will tell you or text you. It's not a real business. It's Tony's dad funding Tony's hobby. And hopefully it makes some money. They better get that big rights fee renewal. If not, they really look like shit. And Tony gets to feel like a hero to his fellow message board fans when he puts on a pay-per-view with 5-star bangers. But the TV is atrocious. Tony doesn't know how to book. Tony doesn't understand how to get people over. Tony doesn't understand how to follow up on momentum. Tony's awful at this. Merchandise has been a disaster. It was poorly run. The buildings, the ticket sales across the board.
Well, hey, what about the new head fellow there, the big office fellow?
Well,
what's his name?
Kosher Irby, I believe is his name.
I was going to say Jack Kirby, but
he's new.
Close.
He's new, so who knows? Maybe that's why
he
we're
may
getting
not
some
have
budget
time
cuts.
to get old.
That's why maybe we're getting some budget cuts. We don't know.
How much could? Here's the thing: how much could they have trimmed off the budget if these guys can't afford a car or a home? That are talking about that they got let go.
Unless this footage shows CM Punk getting knocked out, which it isn't, or shows CM Punk, I guess, not beating up Jack Kirby to the extent that he says, right? Why else would you release this? Because there's no... Again, Jack Perry's gimmick now is he's the scapegoat.
Well, no, maybe
after
that's
the CM Punk interview on TV, they start with the Edge thing, and then the Bucks shout him out on the way to the ring. So you have to think immediately the plan was in place to get him back on there. This seems like a no-win situation for AEW, a desperate attempt to get some ratings, but if they're not even going to be able to say it's CM Punk, and you're just relying purely on internet fans, how much of a rating is this going to get?
Well, that's what they're showing the footage, because then the Buckaroos are going to say, see, Jack Perry could have kicked his ass, but he didn't lift a finger because he was professional, and the other guy choked him out, so therefore we fired the other guy and we're bringing Jack back. And then
I want to see the footage of Tony
be known as the guy that got choked out by Punk.
This is Tony's chance to bury Punk and say, Punk is a liar, he's a maniac, here's the footage of Punk scaring me. That's the footage we need to see. Why aren't they showing that?
I'm pretty sure that that footage doesn't exist, Brian. That for one thing, if you can't, if somebody's yelling at you and saying, fuck it, I quit, I'm done, whatever the quote was, this is a clown show, barehanded, no weapon, no lunge toward, no threatening motion, no goddamn people holding him back, how are you going to be scared of that? And the answer is you can't. But that was what the lawyers recommended that Tony use, the verbiage he used when they tried to get themselves out of that situation without Punk suing him, because he was happy to go on and make the millions of dollars he's making now.
To go back to after Montreal, let's say, Bret Hart was still talked about and made fun of and kind of a character while not being there on WWE TV for a short time. Remember Shawn Michaels had a midget come out dressed as Bret Hart, and
yeah,
of course Vince McMahon's promo about Bret screwing Bret. And again, it all worked out for WWE, the Mr. McMahon character, the rise of Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels going home. It all worked out. That was the weeks after Survivor Series. We're now, almost a year after the Perry thing? A few years after the Bucks thing? Let's release some of that footage of Jericho yelling in the hallway.
The Perry thing was only, about 9 months ago? Maybe people have been impregnated and conceived by then.
How does this benefit them? Can this benefit them the way anything benefited WWE in that situation? And how could any of this benefit them? The Bucks and Jack Perry, who will forever be tied to CM Punk.
Well, but it benefited Shawn and etc. with Vince, and because that it wasn't the big star got in trouble and got fired, and there was no one to replace in the vacuum. Shawn was still a big star. Austin was about to be a big star. Fucking Rock was coming up. There was Undertaker was ready. It was still a company of big stars, and this prickish heel Shawn Michaels with his friend Triple H and whatever the fuck, making fun of running off Bret Hart or fucking around Bret Hart, was done to get heat on a heel that was, at that point, let's remember, at Bret Hart's level on the cards and in the eyes of the people in terms of star power. This was, hey, the only star you motherfuckers had, now he's gone, and it's because of this fucking underneath guy that looks like he came out of a Tarzan movie and he thinks he's a big deal because his dad was an actor on TV. And that's just leave it fucking go. And the guy didn't win. If he'd have knocked Punk out now, he said, well, when Punk comes back and challenges for the title, well, look, one of our smallest guys knocked Punk out. Here we got footage, but what are they selling? Yeah, the big star on the other channel chokes out our guys for real. Fuck, I don't... help me.
Well, the other thing is this going to do anything to get anyone who hasn't been watching the show or anyone that has never seen the show to tune in and stay?
No, because they announced it at 1 o'clock in the morning. They don't have another crack at another television show to make this announcement until the television show where they're going to show the goddamn show. So,
and then whatever rating they get for this, the next segment will be like the Undisputed Kingdom, shop for toilets, and they'll lose the entire audience.
Well, this is not going to get a rating because of that, because that nobody has heard of the announcement that watches the television program. It's on the internet, yes, and the people that are already going to be watching on Wednesday night, the people who were going to be watching to begin with are the ones that are going to know this is going to happen. And they're probably going to, for the quarter hour in which it takes place, they're probably going to be at 800 and something, fucking, unless they go too late in the show, 800 and something thousand, whatever their top is. Everybody in their audience is going to be interested in this, but because they know what the fuck happened and now they want to see it. But it's not going to get anybody new to come to the program, and they're still not going to stick with it afterwards, like you said, or wherever it is in the show, other parts are still going to be doing the same things that they've been doing. And how long can this... I have a feeling it's not going to be a lengthy goddamn skirmish. So they're going to have to dress it up with... Well, they're going to have to dress it up with...
It'll be the Bucks acting silly. They'll have a telestrator. They could have fun with it.
Well, I was going to say some kind of presentation, and if it's silly, then that's great. The only goddamn real thing they will have ever aired on this program, and they'll figure out a way to make it silly and seem fake too.
Well, the crazy thing is, again, this is all happening because Tony's upset about what Punk said about him. Punk only said what other guys don't say publicly.
Yes.
And Tony's upset because CM Punk's acknowledging the truth that Tony's a nice guy, and he's got a big wallet. It's his dad's wallet. But he's got access to a big wallet, but he's not a boss. He's not someone that people respect. And you can't all of a sudden now try to act hard and convince people that you are, because you're not.
Folks, it's a wrestling locker room. Even though it's a lot softer than it used to be, and people are a lot more polite, apparently, in the wrestling business than they used to be, it's still, even if you put the girls over on the side in the girls' locker room, I'm assuming they don't all change together, even today in our enlightened atmosphere, just the guys' locker room. You mean to tell me anybody out there that has any experience in life, a locker room full of ex-college athletes or guys that believe they're athletes or people who want to be TV stars that are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s with a few fucking veterans around, and their natural nature of making fun of people in their own groups, amongst their own tight friends, making fun of other people, with Tony Khan, the way he hugs people, the way he conducts himself, the way he speaks on the interviews, the strange ideas he seems to have about professional wrestling or what he likes or whatever, but also the money that he pays out and the kindness that he shows. You think that they're not busting his fucking balls in private little groups? I'm sorry. But there's one reason why Tony Khan has been accepted in any wrestling locker room, whether in 2024 or 1974, because billionaire precedes his name in introductions. Well, here comes billionaire Tony Khan, and he's welcome everywhere. But otherwise, and I've said before, Tony is a nice guy. Everybody agrees he's a nice guy. Detrimental to business, doesn't recognize his shortcomings. Tony Khan is the kind of guy that may have been stripped naked and duct taped to a fucking railing in the territory wrestling days by the same guys that he's now paying millions of dollars to.
Well, I'm sure there's a spot you were going to transition to here at some point.
But I'll tell you what, Brian, you know what? That by gum that Tony he needs to calm down. He needs to calm down. He's a very excitable boy. Warren Zevon should do his theme music. But Tony Khan needs to calm down because, you know, anxiety's bad for you. You know this. You're aware of this, aren't you? Are you scared about the level of anxiety that you have, Brian? Does it make you nervous? It's awful close in here.
I'm not too anxious at all, no.
Well, you should be.
Why?
Because of all the bad things that are going to go on and about to happen in the world. Even some of them might affect you, some of them might not. We don't know. It's a goddamn pinball machine, a crapshoot. You got to be on alert all the time, ready to go, ready to defend yourself, ready to defend your family.
What is this?
I'm telling you, it's anxiety is just running rampant these days. Well, you need some things to calm you down every once in a while. It's what you need. And you know, all that anxiety can cause you pain and inflammation. You need something for that too. If you've got pain after physical activity, well, any activity for me these days is physical, but if you really go overboard, you try to get things off a shelf or maybe pick up a suitcase and you throw out your sacroiliac, well, you don't need to throw it out. It could be restored and remodeled and refreshed and ready to go, ready as new. If you just take a little CBD. Because, Brian, whether you're having the problems when you're sleeping, or whether you got the pain after physical activity, or you're experiencing anxiety, a feeling of heaviness, like you got a sword hanging over you, inching ever closer to your Adam's apple or your jugular, and every time that it swings, it descends a little further. If you wake up in the morning that way, you're not on the CBD, because the CBD will wash away your cares and woes on the road to Shambhala. Because it is clinically proven, Brian, you know the surveys, 81% of the customers experienced more calm. 80% said CBD helped with pain after physical activity. 90% said they slept better with CBD. And 3% felt that they were the ones that were beating up Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania.
That is not a proven fact, and that is not a proven fact. That is wrong, no.
Well, that's what they thought. But with over 2 million customers and a solid 100% money-back guarantee, CB Distillery, our friends over there, they're the source to trust. You can't just go around and get CBD out of the trunk of people's cars, ladies and gentlemen. It's not healthy, and in some cases, it's not legal. But where you can go to trust the source of your CBD, which is this CBD is mined in Bolivia, and it is put on in saddlebags on the backs of burros and carried across the Andean mountains. This is the pure original CBD type of shit. It comes from the source, which, as everyone knows, is a volcano in Ecuador. They don't manufacture this shit just in somebody's bathtub, folks. So CB Distillery gets this CBD to you, and then you take it and you feel better, as we mentioned. And I mentioned the over 2 million customers. They've also got a 100% money-back guarantee. If you can't smell the burro poop coming from the burros that brought this over the Andean mountains, even right now to this day on every one of these capsules, well, I'll kiss your rosy red ass. And folks, we have right now a way for you to save 20% on this fine product or any of these fine products at their website, cbdistillery.com. All you got to do is use the code JCE. You get 20% off whatever the heck you order to get you started on this. And well, once you get started, you can't get off this stuff, boy. You're going to have the CBD monkey on your back. You're going to feel so good. You're never going to, boy, I'm telling you, you're going to be just holding your arms out saying, Stick it right in my hands.
You could use some right now, I think. You're a mess.
I think because I'm so anxious because of the world and the way it is today. Go to cbdistillery.com, use the code JCE for 20% off. Brian, once again, that's cbdistillery.com, code JCE, 20% off. Sleep better, feel better, feel and sleep better. Don't hurt. Do not hurt, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever you do, don't hurt. And CB Distillery will do all these things for you as long as you buy their products.
Buy their products because they're great and you can use them if you, in fact, need them.
Yes.
CB Distillery.
Yes, you can them.
What's that promo code one more time?
JCE. It's always JCE.